her fruit looks bad. I just looked at Lauren, she's like, I'm stressed out. I feel like I'm in a simulation right now.
Why would you hit post on this and then leave it up for 3 days?
I wouldn't have posted that if like that was what I knew was landing, because my eyes was the stressors of the day.
Personally, I think that becoming a full-time content creator can actually be a big mistake.
They've clocked out of the 9-to-5s and they've clocked out of reality at this point. Hey guys, it's Briar and let's chat about it. At this point, it seems like the title influencer is often synonymous with the phrase out of touch, because we as the audience and the internet have seen this film one too many times before, where we watch a creator who we connected with for being relatable grow their platform, but somewhere along the way they forget what made them successful and relatable in the first place. And in today's video, I just really wanted to explore this topic, this trend, the who, what, when, where, and why of it all. And as we of course love to do, just have a good old yap about it along the way. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick around and let's get into it. But first, if you're sitting there thinking, I feel like I've forgotten to do something, maybe it's subscribe to my channel, maybe it's press that like button, I don't know, could be wrong, but it's worth a shot, right? So my chaotic roadmap for this video is that I wanted to start off by using the recent Katherine Ebbs drama, the grocery store drama, if you know, you know, and if you don't, we'll get into it soon, as sort of a case study to introduce a lot of the topic that influencers go through, and also why I think this situation in part did get the reaction that it did, because for a lot of people it just felt like the latest example in a list of plenty of influencers becoming so tone deaf and out of touch and posting content that is not only not relatable but so out of touch with everybody else's reality. Right, cool. So we'll start off with the Katherine Ebbs situationification of it all as our case study, and then we will get into kind of the hows and the whys and really go through some just questions and trends that I've noticed happen on social media that have really been like pinballing around my silly goofy head for a while now, and I just feel like it's time. It is time. Dun, dun, dun. That wasn't the right sound. Any hoodly toodly, let's get into it, shall we? And I feel like in internet timeline, this situation for some people probably feels like light years ago, but in the scheme of like, you know, life, it was just a month ago. So I know I am kind of late to talking about this situation, but I do feel like it's such a good example of this bigger topic and theme. So first things first, well, yes, I am the realist. But let's introduce you guys to Katherine Ebbs. If you have not met her, if you don't know what on earth I am talking about, you're just sitting there like, Briar, you are just saying blah, blah, blah to me right now. What are you talking about, Katherine Ebbs grocery store drama? Well, I'm so glad you asked. So Katherine Ebbs is an influencer and her biggest platform is TikTok with 1.6 million followers, and she now lives in New York. Hello, New York. What is that from? Every time I hear the word New York, that's what my brain says. Is that Hannah Montana movie? I'm getting distracted. Anywho, so she now lives in New York City, but previously she lived in Texas and I believe some other places as well. And she has been a full-time influencer, I want to say, for the past couple years now, but she kind of went viral for doing story times. She features her family and her husband on her content a lot, telling stories. They kind of use like a silly, goofy voice to tell these stories. And just a little bit of a trigger warning, it's like a very brief mentioning, but I do think it's relevant and important to understand Katherine's like rise and how she connected with her audience on social media. But if you don't want to hear about loss, I will just put a timestamp down below. I'm not going to get into it too deeply, but you know. But basically one of the people she featured quite heavily on her socials was her dad. He kind of was the one that started the voice that they would use for the story times. They had teeny time together, martini time, of course, and very sadly her dad actually unexpectedly passed away, and she was very honest and vulnerable and open about this on her social media. And I think a lot of people like they could connect with that on so many different levels, right? Through different ways that people have lost, you know, important people in their life, and her just honest and like vulnerable sharing of navigating that, I think truly authentically connected her with her audience that maybe had, you know, found her from her story times and the silly voices and all of that stuff. They really connected with her and stayed with her and wanted to see her, you know, thrive as an influencer through this honest sharing. So yes, that is just the brief mentioning of loss, but I do think it's really important to mention that to understand the way that she had really authentically connected with her audience and the way that she had built that relationship. And I do genuinely think it was a very authentic relationship that she had built, and she was really sharing her life in the most raw way that you possibly could. And so from her creating the success with her platform, she eventually left her job to become a full-time influencer, and so did her husband. From what I understand, it was a bit of like a conflict of interest because his job was like quite I think it was government related, so just the privacy aspect of his job obviously isn't that conducive with, you know, being an influencer and sharing your life. So I think they kind of made the decision collectively that they were both going to pursue her platform and making content on social media together, make rain while the sun shines. Sure, Briar, that's what you do. You make rain when the sun shines. But so then, because they also both ended up, you know, pursuing the influencer thing, I think that's also how they decided to move to New York at the beginning of this year or earlier this year. On one hand, I feel like you can totally understand if you both have the freedom to move and pursue living somewhere different. Like, there's nothing really stopping them from moving. And I think also it's important to point out that, like, lots of people move to New York. Hey, I'm walking here. Moving to New York is not a bad thing or isn't inherently going to make you out of touch. Like, I don't think anything that she did or that a lot of influencers do inherently mean they're going to become out of touch or that they're doing something bad or that they're doing it on purpose to become out of touch. But I do think that since we've seen this be a trend time and time again, maybe it is something that as an influencer or as someone pursuing influencing, it is something to be mindful of. It is something to, you know, factor in, and something that we will dive into later as the bigger how, what, when, where, and why of it all. So as we know, I'm a huge fan of context. I'm context's #1 fan, but I do think that all of that information that I gave to you, here you go, have the information. Would you like another information? No, you're full of information. Okay, cool. I think it's relevant, right? I think it's relevant to understand why the post that Catherine made that we're going to watch soon, promise it'll be soon, got the reaction that it did, made a lot of her audience feel really betrayed and hurt and confused, because she did build her platform authentically and like by relating to people and by sharing like real life stuff. And I think I also bring it up to not negate that any of those things were true or is how that she connected with her audience. Sometimes, especially if you haven't followed the influencer before and you just see what I'm about to show you, this really like out of touch video, you're just like, where did this person come from? My Place, where do you think? What movie is that? Do you know? Bit obscure perhaps. But, you know, I think it is easy to be like, who is this person? Why are they posting this? Like, why are they posting this? Gulp, like, where did they come from? And just that little bit of understanding and context, you're like, oh, now I understand why they have over 1 million followers. I understand where their audience came from. I understand a bit more about them. It doesn't mean what we're about to watch next isn't out of touch and, you know, people weren't in their right to find it out of touch. But I do just think sometimes it feels like these out of touch influencers fall out of the sky, and that's just not how it happens. So blah, 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 yay, we've finally laid down the groundwork like chaotic clockwork, and it is time to watch the video that Catherine posted. But that I do just feel like is kind of the perfect example of the out of touch influencer behavior and how it is received online. But yes, let's watch this video now. We have to go back to when it was red, white, blue in the sky, because it was 4th of July, when Catherine posted this video of her and her family trying to get groceries for 4th of July weekend for their holiday. Vacation? Holiday. We say holiday, I think maybe you guys say vacation. Potato, potato, let's watch the video.
Sam's Club canceled our order 3 different times, so we are in this teeny tiny little town in the mountains, and we're gonna try and hopefully get all of our groceries for the next 4 days. This is so small town vibes, it's not even funny. I have a feeling this is not gonna be good news. We don't even have a car? This is a simulation. Oh shit.
So that phrase, we're in a simulation, oh boy, the internet did not like that. But as to set the scene, they've tried to pre-order their groceries. It didn't work out. Sam's Club said no. And so they've had to go analog, they've had to go old fashioned and go to the shops. And I feel like to give kind of Catherine like a bit of like understanding, you can obviously tell that she's a little bit frazzled. You know, she's a little bit like, ugh, everything's going wrong. My shopping order kept getting cancelled, so now we have to go and I can't find a grocery cart and it's a small town and it's clearly got her in a little bit of a frazzle. But does that justify the way she goes on to behave? Spoiler alert, well no.
While she's grabbing that, you do need a melon? I'm just sitting here laughing. I'm just sitting here laughing. Their fruit does not look good. Like all their fruit looks bad. I just looked at Lauren, she's like, I'm stressed out. I'm mad at Sam's. Sam's Club and I are not friends. Oh, they threw in a bag of suitcase. Guys, this is not good. Maybe I'll just do these. Aaron, I know, needs some stuff for his salads. At this point, I'm just grabbing shit.
I feel like it reminds me of my last video, the Airbnb one. Link if you haven't watched it yet. Add it to the watch later list, I guess. It's so odd to watch creators state something and then show you something completely different. In the Airbnb video, they were like, look at this mess. They've completely trashed the place. And it's like, the remote is not where they expected it to be and there's a blanket on the couch. She's like, there is no good fruit or vegetable, and yet she got potatoes, kumara, watermelon, grapes, celery, like, and the bananas, and everything looked fine. I mean, I don't know, am I missing something? If there's like a bunch of gross fruit and vegetable, I couldn't see it. But let's continue, shall we?
I'm like, low-key, we should just order out because this is crazy. I don't see any 100% beef. This is absolutely insane. Lauren and I literally just keep saying we're fucking mad at Sam's Club. Thank you. I feel like I'm in a simulation right now. For my 4-year-olds.
This is the only kind of pickle.
That's fine. Aaron needs them for a salad too. Okay. You're good. Okay, I'm seeing ribeye or strip. You like ribeye or strip better? This is crazy. Cream butter. I don't see any normal eggs. Oh shit.
Do you know what this actually reminds me of? If you guys are chronically online, like me, there was this girl who starts her video off by being like, call me crazy, but I don't like store-bought or jar pesto. Like, this is kind of the level of crazy. When people say, this is crazy, this is cuckoo bananas, bleh, silly billies, and I'm just kind of struggling. Like, they're finding meat, they're finding vegetables, they're finding everything that's on the list, they're finding snacks. They acknowledge that there is still the option to order food and like get delivery. So I understand being annoyed at Sam's Club and like preparing and then it getting cancelled. Like, yeah, sure, that can be annoying, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a little bit boring, but I love grocery shopping. I love grocery shopping in a new place. Like, literally one of my favorite supermarkets is in a completely different part of New Zealand because it's so nice. If you guys know New Zealand at all, Queenstown is like an iconic place. It's one of my favorite places in the world. It's beautiful, it's snowy, it's mountains. It's stunning, but they have an amazing supermarket. And I just think about it sometimes. I've only been there on holiday, so I was on holiday and I went supermarket shopping. And yeah, it was busy. It's a vacation spot. It's where everyone's going. But like, you know, you just gotta make the best out of a bad situation. I think we all can relate to being annoyed at something silly, or being annoyed that something was cancelled, or being annoyed that we're inconvenienced. Like, I think we all have those days, right? But at the end of the day, it's summer. You're on vacation. You're having fun with your family. Like, it's easy breezy in the scheme of things. And I think ultimately also that's why this video it's a bit jarring. But let's continue.
Those are ours simply because
How fresh those are gonna be.
right. Those are ours. Definitely have to hit beep beep. We have to hit the fruits and veggies again. How much do you hate me right now?
I mean, not a lot.
Just a little bit. I don't think I could have ever gotten Lauren drunk or high enough to be in this place right now.
Like, can you get?
Baby, I can't get nothing. Baby, there is no plane.
We are not buying these.
Oh, I didn't see that. My bad. Don't even ask. A crazy experience. An absolutely insane experience. The greatest part is that guys are there, so all we have to do is drive. I love it.
I moved this cart so you can.
Holy schnikes. You could tell the lady at checkout. Now it started raining. What is happening? Literally, what is happening? Not it randomly start raining.
Jesus, it was.
What is happening to us?
Jesus, take the wheel.
I literally was like, what is going on right now? All I know is we gotta go.
We didn't get ice. We have to go to Green Mart. I gotta go in there. I gotta go shop local.
And I do fear the piece de resistance, the cherry on the top, is like getting into your nice, like that's a nice looking leather interior car with your LV bag and just saying, whoa, that was the most jarring experience. And so I think when that video hit the algorithm and hit people's For You page, it was just not one thing, but so many aspects of that video that just felt like this is what we've been talking about. This is the out of touch influencer nonsense that's really ruining people's scrolling time. It's going down like a lead balloon. It's not coming across well. And no one's enjoying this content. And so, I mean, spoiler alert if you couldn't have guessed it, that video eventually did get deleted. But I, as a genius myself, self-proclaimed genius, did in fact screen record the comment section. So let's have a little ready read, shall we? The top comments literally are, this is an insane experience, ... getting groceries. A lot of people would find it a privilege just to be able to go into a grocery store and buy whatever they want. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, that definitely sums up the kind of general vibe that is a lot of the times what influencers forget when they complain and go on and on about these things on social media, is that, well, yes, having your shopping order is annoying in the scheme of life. You're still on holiday with your family, enjoying the 4th of July and not stressing about what a lot of people are. And so I think that's also where it comes across poorly. This is my first and last impression of you. This is actually my hometown grocery store. The reason the store has less options is because it's a holiday weekend in a tourist town where the economy of the town is based off of tourists. You want what every tourist that came up for the 4th of July and the locals wanted to celebrate the holiday. It's not that unexpected. As a local, we're lucky to have this grocery store here, as all others are 30 minutes or longer away. It's disappointing that instead of embracing a small town for everything it does, you had to chastise it. I think that is it as well. Like, it's very clear that this is just like a pretty typical like small town grocery store. And if anything, like in the background of her, like the cans look stocked. There was options of meat types. There was a few, like there was fruit and vegetable to choose from. Yes, there was maybe one bag of kumara left, but there was still lots of potatoes, there was still meat, there was still snacks. Yes, there might have been some things you didn't want, but there was still a lot of options. So this is so embarrassing. Wow, in a simulation, lol, you need to put the phone down for a while. I'm so confused, so you're just too good for a normal grocery store. This came off so snotty. Why is this still up? A simulation, question mark, question mark, question mark. A grocery store, question mark, question mark. This is bigger than the grocery store in the town I live in, upside down smiley face. And I think what's really interesting, as you can see, that comment is from, you know, a different influencer. And I think it's very interesting when you see, in a sense, it's like your peers, your colleagues in a way, weighing in and saying like, hey bestie, yeah, I get it, maybe you were annoyed, but to get to be so extreme to call just an everyday experience a simulation, jarring, crazy, like you just couldn't be drunk high enough. Huh? And then this comment is interesting because she actually replies to it, which said, normally love your content, but this came across tone deaf as someone who loves their local small town grocery store. That comment is pretty fair. Like, I think she's not being rude, she's not being unkind, she's letting her know it's coming from the place as someone that enjoys her content, how it's come across to her audience. And instead she replies, I love any grocery, heart. If you see my page, I frequent groceries often because I love them so much. What I don't love is groceries on holiday weekends when they're packed and a small amount of options at the very last and unexpected second, heart, face. And I just feel like her representation of the situation feels so extreme, where most people are like, considering it's a holiday weekend and considering you're in a small town, the options, you got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. You've got things to choose from. There, it didn't look that busy. In the car park, you could see free parking spaces. Like, in the scheme of things, it was a very normal experience. And I think that is what is so jarring as an audience, is to watch an influencer have a pretty typical, normal experience, having to be out in the public, and to them it is the most jarring, insane, like simulation thing that they have to experience. And I think that is ultimately why a video like this went down so badly, because this is something that most people do every week. They have to go to the supermarket when it's busy because most people have work and they have to go to the grocery store when it's busy. So for her everyday life to be so removed to this fact that she doesn't even have to experience a busy grocery store, and that is now jarring and a simulation, I think was just such a perfect example of how out of touch and how removed influencers can make themselves from everyday life and from what most people are experiencing, not even factoring in the money aspect and all those other stressful aspects that a lot of people are going through. But so now I did want to play you guys this video of someone talking about their thoughts on why it actually did take Catherine a few days to take the video down. This video was up for quite a while, quite a few days, before it eventually was taken down.
The fact that Catherine Ebbs did not delete her out of touch grocery store video sooner is hilarious to me, and it blows my mind because what she posted it days ago, it was like before the 4th of July that she posted that, and she just now today deleted it. And I feel like from a content creator standpoint, we can all see exactly why. I mean, the video when I last looked had like 3.8 million views, and the video is over a minute long. So she was making good money on that video if she's part of the Creator Rewards program because of the amount of engagement that was on that video. And then even today, she just went about like posting her normal content, like without addressing it all, no apology, nothing. I can almost guarantee you whoever manages her probably told her that she needed to take the video down. And I guarantee you her next video will be some like scripted apology that like her PR crisis team helped her write. I actually used to love her videos, and I had to unfollow her a while ago because she's just kind of become insufferable. But that grocery store video like popped up on my For You page just like organically, and I remember watching it and I was like, why would you hit post on this? Literally, why would you hit post and then leave it up for 3 days so that you can make money off the amount of engagement you're getting on it, and then you just now today deleted it?
To put the cherry on top of the cherry, another reason why this whole situation went over so poorly, because not only did she think these things, did she behave this way in public, did she talk about people and act like this was the craziest thing to ever happen, but she edited it, posted it, and then defended it in the comments, left the video up when she was getting sincere feedback from her audience, and most likely because the likes, clicks, and engagement. Even if people aren't liking it, the algorithm was, and that is a reward system in of itself, as we know, as we've seen with many an influencer, that engagement baits. It becomes a trade-off, and she chose to leave up content that was clearly not making anyone feel good, not making her audience feel good, was, you know, putting tension on the relationship that she had with her audience, was confirming to a lot of people, like this person says, that they feel like she has gone down this out of touch pathway and, you know, has gone past the point of no return, and only removes the video once she's gotten the benefit out of it, and so now can remove it. Not because it came across poorly or because she reflected on it, processed the feedback, and took that on board. Now, don't be silly. But so what happened next, like she said, she did after a few days take down the video, and what the internet really enjoyed and rallied behind was this carousel that the supermarket themselves posted of them showing that they actually have lots of food, lots of fresh produce, lots of options. And I feel like Catherine was really trying to portray them as this like small town, they've got nothing left grocery store. But when you look at it, like, it doesn't even look like a small grocery store. It looks like they have a lot of options. I feel like they just took it really well and took it in their stride to just say, like, hey, yeah, people have bought a lot of stuff because it was a long weekend, but we actually really pride ourselves on putting an effort to give the locals and tourists options to choose from and good fresh produce to buy, and like trying to do their best. They're literally just doing their best. They're just a supermarket that's just trying. And people, I think, really appreciated kind of their response in the whole situation, because it really did feel like the supermarket was getting dragged and like treated like they were like the craziest, like, we've gone into the red room, we're in like an alternate universe. When you look at the pictures and you look at the footage around Catherine, it was just like, I don't know, guys, this looks like a normal grocery store to me, but I could be. I don't know, maybe I'm this goofy goober. But eventually on the 14th of July, Catherine does post this video addressing the situation. And I do use the word addressing and not apologizing because, well, let's just get into it, shall we?
What a week it has been. I wanted to come on because I'm not someone to not address the situation, especially at this scale. I took the week off to just like kind of be with my family while they were in town. Looking back, the video I had posted walking in the grocery store, did I 1000% have a bratty bad attitude? Yes, I was very, very, very frustrated with the day. I spent weeks to make sure that everything went to plan, and us girly pops putting all the pressure on our shoulders to make sure family birthday parties, family weekends, family trips, everything goes well. I felt like that day was just a simulation. I was like, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. On the flip side, watching it back through the lens of others, I am now well aware that my daily stressors were not reflecting in the video. It was just, again, just a bad attitude, bad energy. And now when I look back, I'm like, I cringe because it's like my intent versus the impact are miles and miles and miles apart. And that was just, that's not me. That's not me. That video does not reflect my own true character, my own true thoughts. I come from way, way, way less than what I have now. So I know what it's like to not be able to feed your family, going to bed hungry. And so again, that just was the furthest thing from my intention. And I'm like, when I look back, I'm like, if people were to, like, I wouldn't have posted that if like that was what I knew was landing, because my eyes was the stressors of the day. Not that it's an excuse.
And I feel like that last sentence sums up the out of touch situation so perfectly, because I feel like a huge part of out of touch influencers and the content is that they don't know, right? It's like something that slowly happens over time. And I feel like it is also something that almost takes away your resilience to everyday annoyances. And that's not to say that Catherine is not a resilient person. Like I said in the beginning of the video, like she has been through a lot, but I think it's a different type of resilience that you aren't exposed to when you're an influencer, because you don't have to deal with traffic, with rush hour, with busy supermarkets, with, you know, co-workers and all these different things that I feel like just give you a sense of grounding and just a sense of awareness that there are so many other people's lives going on around you, and instead your life becomes very much about yourself. And so all of a sudden you end up in this position where your grocery order getting cancelled is like the biggest deal, and like ends up putting you in a bad bratty attitude, as she says, when you're on holiday. And it's like, I think as well, like if you go on holiday, like you expect things to go wrong, you expect like mishaps, things to happen. You need to be flexible. You need to just have like, okay, this didn't work out, what can I do different? And it shouldn't ruin the day of the holiday. Yes, it can be annoying. Yes, you can be like, oh, that's so annoying that I put in the time and the effort to plan something and it didn't work out. But to let it not only ruin your whole day, it ruined the day of the person that she was with. Like they both seemed to be feeding off of each other in this attitude. They were just treating everything as the most like extreme version in that place. And I feel like the way you could really see it was the way that she was describing the situation literally did not match with the reality of the vlog. And I think that is also why it felt like such a good example of like an out of touch influencer, because her reality and what she was experiencing and the way she was describing it didn't match what she was showing us as the audience, and she couldn't see that and she was defending it. And I think even now it's like still not getting the point, or feeling like if people understood me, or if people knew what I was going through, if I like the pressure, the weight that I had put on my shoulders, then they wouldn't have seen me as being out of touch, instead of being like, yeah, I had stresses, but I was also acting out of touch. Anyway, let's continue.
But I hope it's something that people can understand where I was coming from. And I am just grateful for the people who have given me grace and who have been part of my community for years, and know that that's not literally anything I've ever preached. So I giggle now because I'm like, again, I just have so much like cringe in me where I'm like, it's just frustrating. I do want to say the bullying that's come from this has been so unbelievably eye-opening. I have seen people online get ripped to shreds before, but to personally experience it, whoa. I don't condone the bullying. I don't condone a lot of the things that have been said and done. I wish the people that took this moment for their own virality, if they meant to make such an impact and they wanted to make such an impact, I wish they would have been like, hey, let's use her name for the clout, but like let's use it for impact. And the impact is every single person does deserve fresh produce and not bleached eggs, not rotten cucumbers. Like everyone deserves that.
I feel like that's such a bizarre take. You could argue that her leaving that video up also didn't have that impact, and also she showed so much fruit and vegetable that like didn't look like it had anything wrong with it. It all just looked very normal, and it's a very strange standard to set onto people that were, for the most part, as we went through the comment section, were calling out her behavior and her attitude. And I'm sure there were also a lot of people using it as an excuse to, you know, attack her unnecessarily or about things that weren't relevant to the situation. But I think from what we could see from those top comments especially, the overwhelming response was to her behavior and to her attitude and to her perspective. Those I think are valid things to bring up. Those are valid things to raise. It just seems so bizarre for her to, after posting this video, then turning it around on the audience and the people talking about it and being like, you should have used this for impact and change to get all grocery stores to have fresh produce, which, as we saw in the carousel, that grocery store does have fresh produce. I don't know what this bleached egg stuff is. Is this an American thing? I don't get it. Overall, it looked like she was able to get enough fresh produce to have fruit to eat. She had grapes, she had watermelon, she had bananas. Looked like she had enough fresh produce to make a salad to go along with whatever she was, you know, the meat, the burgers or whatever they were going to have. So it looked very standard. It looked very summer barbecue vibes, but let's continue.
I have a brother who's vegan, and that was my number one stressor when I walked in that grocery store. All he eats is fruits and vegetables. And I bought him goldfish and popcorn because those are his favorite snacks. And that was primarily what he ate through the weekend, was like more snacky foods. So being a big sister in that moment, like I was just stressed and I felt so horrible that, again, everything that I planned was going wrong.
I'm an oldest daughter, which in turn does make me a big sister. And so like I get it, but also that's not true. Like, I'm so sorry. That is not true, because you showed us that you bought fruit and vegetables. And also a lot of people are pointing out that goldfish aren't vegan. So, I don't know. We don't really have goldfish in New Zealand. Yeah, a lot of people are pointing out that goldfish aren't even vegan, but also she did show that she bought like quite a few different fruit and vegetable options. So, I don't know. But I think also like, I'm pretty sure her brother is an adult, right? When you have a specific dietary requirement, yes, it is nice for other people to organize food for you and like buy stuff, but I do also feel like when you are an adult and you're aware of those stuff, usually you would just bring, I don't know, like a vegan protein powder or some vegan snacks, like, and, you know, just have some sort of backup options for just in case. And also, like, it is a holiday weekend, so if you're eating like fun, silly things for the week, like a weekend, like that's not the biggest deal. I feel like on holiday, you eat a little bit fun and silly anyway, so I don't know.
And now I was like, oh shit, now I have someone in my household that can't eat. But reflecting and like seeing it through the lens of people who are like, I always have people in my household that can't eat, I know how bad that looks. And it truly was not my intention, and I am very sorry. So I am appreciative of those who gave me grace and who also have understood, like, I'm a human being and we all make mistakes. I've always preached that, but I'm also someone who's always preached accountability and the principle. So here I am. I would like to move forward. I have taken my time off to just enjoy with my family while they were here. And I just am ready to keep growing with you guys, without you guys. If you want to be here, you're welcome to be here. If you don't want to be here, that's totally understandable. But just know from the bottom of my heart, I truly am sorry. So, love you so much.
I feel like that was almost the opposite of an I'm sorry, but. It was like, but, da, 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 at the very end, I'm sorry. And I just think all of those caveats that were put before the I'm sorry made this video like not feel the most sincere to a lot of people. And I think, as we know, like this video was 4 minutes long, a lot of people didn't even get to the I'm sorry. Also, a big thing that people felt was that, you know, she says that her big thing is accountability, and like she says, a big like topic that she talks about in her content is it's the principle. The fact that she didn't understand the core issue and ever really acknowledge that what she was saying with stresses in the grand scheme of things is just like a lot of people's privilege. And even the fact that she has the ability, when she gets so much backlash, to just take time off, have an extended holiday, that in of itself is a privilege. And it just feels like, I think for a lot of people, it felt like the root of the issue wasn't acknowledged. And so how can they be confident that your perspective, and she's like saying growing with you, like how can people be confident that you are taking it on board and growing if you don't really ever acknowledge? That's why people didn't like the content, and that's why it went down so poorly. And I think that is something that we also see a lot when people get like a big backlash online, is that they often seem to like miss the point. They often just seem to miss like the real root issue and like focus on the hate, the overwhelming response, you know, the virality of it, and kind of miss like the root cause of it. And so how do people know that anything's going to be different if you don't ever acknowledge that? But to turn to the comments, because she has left the comments on, the top comment literally is, wait, but this isn't an apology, it's an explanation. I think we're missing I want to apologize to Tops Grocery for being so rude about their store. You talked down to them. And I think that's a major thing that rubbed people up the wrong way as well, is that she was really just represented that grocery store in the least generous way possible and almost turned it on them because they didn't have the produce that she wanted, or like whatever she had as a vision in her mind. And like this comment as well that says, babe, that's not stressor, it's privilege. That's just a huge aspect of this out of touch influencer conversation, is that oftentimes what influencers are complaining about doesn't even really touch the sides of what most people go through. Or in this case, it felt like you were turning something that really wasn't a problem into a problem because they are so removed from what most people go through. And this comment as well that says, this felt so disingenuous, but whatever, I followed and I think it'll stay that way, best of luck, goldfish aren't vegan. And then she says, exactly the point in this video, no one is perfect 100% of the time, and God forbid a vegan has a favorite snack, damned if you do, damned if you don't. What? It's just, that wasn't the point of the video at all. Her point was the only thing he could eat because he was vegan was goldfish and popcorn. But one of those things isn't even vegan. But yes, as we can see, this video didn't go down particularly well. I believe before the situation, she had around 1.7 million followers. So she did lose around 100,000 followers. But I think what is actually also interesting in these situations is that whilst yes, maybe the wider perception of an influencer like this becomes more negative, and there are people in her audience that feel like this is the final straw, I'm unfollowing, I do think it also like almost makes people almost more like defend them regardless, and like strengthen on that like parasocial relationship that they have with these creators, which I think is also an interesting but unintended consequence of situations like this. And she has, like she said, gone back to posting her usual content. There is obviously kind of the lingerings of this is a simulation like in the comments, but it does feel like for the most part in her content and comment section, like things have gone back to business as per usual, which I do think is interesting because the content that she does post does really fit into that like out of touch influencer lifestyle. Like in a vlog, I can't show you guys it because it's got some Taylor Swift in the background, but she's talking about how, you know, she has a driver in New York City, and they're kind of, you know, they're talking about going to Paris for someone's birthday and doing their day in their life, but you know, they're influencers, so they're not commuting in the rush hour, they're not having to deal with all of those kind of daily stresses that a lot of people do. It does strengthen almost that bond that these influencers have with the people that choose to stay. And because the, you know, the situation, time has passed, the people that found her content out of touch have checked out, have unfollowed, have moved on also. And I feel like we did touch on it a bit talking throughout that Catherine Ebb situation, but this does kind of take me into the how. There is the why, but I want to start with like the how of how do these influencers end up like that? And I at least have a silly little theory. What happens with influencers is because they do get removed from everyday life and stresses and commuting and all of those things, it does just actually detach them literally, but also mentally and emotionally from what people have to put up with every day, from what people have to just kind of deal with. Kind of takes away that resilience or that tolerance or the expectation for things like that. And I think also like we've seen a lot of examples where influencers seem to be irrationally irritated when they do have to interact with the public, when they do have to wait for things, when things are busy. They're having to step back into the everyday hustle and bustle of people's lives is irritating to them, or that's how it feels a lot of the time. And I think it's because when you stop having a corporate or whatever other job and you don't interact with people, you don't have co-workers, you don't have to deal with difficult dynamics, you no longer have a manager, you're no longer part of a bigger team, and also on top of that, your content and your life revolves around you looking after yourself, promoting products, making your life desirable, entertaining for your audience, all of those things. And then on top of that, you're getting so heavily rewarded for that. That to me is a big part of the how, and a big part of how do influencers end up like that. because they are so removed from everyday life and because they are so heavily rewarded for revolving their lives around themselves. And it does feel like it's to the point where an audience will collectively groan when an influencer announces that they're quitting their job to pursue influencing full time, or that they're, no longer having a corporate job, or they are only doing influencing. And it's not because people don't want them to be, Ariana Grande successful. Yeah, I'm so successful. It's because of the film we've seen before. We don't like the ending. We've seen the ending, and we've seen the extreme ending of the Michaela Nogueiras doing a $50,000 beauty room renovation because it gets engagement, doing luxury brand hauls and saying that their haters funded the haul. People know that the ultimate extreme that this ends up is influencers like Michaela that do endless luxury brand hauls and intentionally say their beauty room makeover is going to cost $50,000 because, as she said in the comments herself, it's because it gets engagement and because it gets a reaction, and they don't care that the reaction is negative. They just care that they get a reaction. And that is why I think so many people get frustrated, because they've seen where this road leads, and it just feels like such a sadness to realize that someone that you related to and connected to and felt like, someone that you enjoyed their content, that is going to disappear, and that is getting replaced with this overconsumption hauls and this unrelatability and this out of touch content that, like Catherine said, if they knew it was out of touch, they wouldn't post it. But that's the issue, is that you don't know that you're out of touch until it's too late. You're too late. But at that point, they've gone down the garden path and they're making so much money and their life revolves around themselves that they don't end up really changing anything. Even beyond that, it's not just that influencers are leaving their 9 to 5, but there's almost like this demonization of a 9 to 5. It feels like, that is the worst thing in the world to an influencer, to have a corporate job or to have a job where you have to go to be in the job physically, to have a manager, to have colleagues, to be a part of something bigger. Like, they act as if that's the worst thing in the world. And so I did have videos of people talking about that I wanted to play now.
Personally, I think that becoming a full-time content creator can actually be a big mistake. So let's talk about why, because I think this is going to ruffle some feathers. If you have no idea who I am, for context, I work in finance, I work in investment banking, and I also do this. So I probably have the most corporate America job ever, and then I also do beauty influencing on the side. So I'm kind of in both worlds. So this whole influencer versus 9 to 5 discussion has been very interesting to me because I do and continue to live both experiences at the same time. I don't mind the water. That's from when I wash my face. As I started off with, I'm of the opinion that if you just do influencing and you don't do anything else, like you literally go from high school straight to influencing, you never go to university, you never have a full-time job, I don't know if that's the right thing. The first reason why I say that is because I think you lose a lot of just like life skill from only doing this. There's a lot to be said for like working with other people, learning how to be managed, learning how to manage other people. You totally lose and you don't learn when you just do influencing because you're essentially working for yourself. That specific thing on its own is not a bad thing, and it's the same if you like go off and start your own business. The main thing that drives me to say I think it would be a mistake is the social aspect of it and the true day-to-day. You basically don't have any co-workers, you get paid exorbitant amounts of money to make a singular video, and then all you do is take photos of yourself or take videos of yourself entirely about you. And then your co-workers or like other influencers are kind of your friends, but kind of people you work with. You see them at events, which are like parties, but then everyone's taking photos and videos all the time because that's your job, but then like no one's living in the moment because everyone's just documenting.
And I totally agree. It's not inherently bad. Being an influencer doesn't mean that you inevitably will become out of touch or that every influencer is out of touch. But I think, like she raises in her video, there are a lot of reasons that can contribute to that, and there are a lot of things that you may miss out on that you feel like is a luxury at the time. Like you feel like, oh, I don't have to commute, I get to work whenever I want, I get to work for myself, I get to make so much money. Like all of those things seem like a luxury, everything is always an unintended trade-off and will always have a consequence. Like she says in her video, a lot of the time it's just those life skills and life experiences. And I think also just removing a lot of like inconvenience and opportunities to build resilience and to have to deal with things that you don't want to, which in the moment and in the time of when you become an influencer, that sounds like amazing. Oh my gosh, yay, I get to just receive product, make lots of money, and I don't have to work in a corporate office or have all of those like things that I don't want to do. But I think you also don't maybe realize the strengths and the skills that it also provides you to make you a more well-rounded person and to also make your life not solely revolve around yourself. But yes, let's continue watching her video.
Since these are technically work events, there's always this underlying motivation on the influencer and the brand side of like who has the most followers, who gets the best content, like this weird vibe. So when you put that all together, not only do I think you're missing out on a lot of key skills, but I also just think it can be really damaging. And I, having experienced it, totally understand how people get so out of touch, because when that's all you know, all of that extravagance just feels normal and feels like a right. It's truly by no fault of their own. I honestly kind of sympathize for them. All of that is to say, I don't think that influencing is inherently bad. I just think it's a problem when like this is your only thing going on. If you do have a huge platform, obviously like I don't think you should have a 9-to-5, but like start a business, start a podcast, a book, like literally anything aside from just straight content, I think is not only the best way to monetize your platform, also the most sane way. Those are just my thoughts. But I'm curious what you guys think, because I think it's a little bit more of a complex conversation.
And I genuinely really resonated with her video, and I honestly feel like she probably said it more succinctly and eloquently than I would have. So I really wanted to include her video and her take. It isn't to like say that all influencers have no life skills. Like I'm never trying to make it this extreme take or like being an influencer is only bad or is going to make you this person. But I think like she says, the more you like open your world up and the more perspectives you open yourself to and the more you add to your life, I think it just inherently will make you a more well-rounded person and will keep you in touch with reality of what's going on for most people. Because like she says, if the people you're interacting with and your colleagues are also these influencers whose lives revolve around themselves and make a lot of money doing so, it's easy to see how you can become removed from reality. So I did really like her video and I wanted to include it. But so the final video that I wanted to show you guys is from this influencer named Ken, where she talks about I guess the motivators as to why people want to become influencers, because to me, I think that's also like a huge contributing factor as to like this whole conversation and like how this out of touch dynamic has become created. Wanting to escape the 9-to-5 and almost seeing yourself as being better than to become an influencer, as opposed to posting content because you love it and you enjoy it and you want to create a community and like share experience and connect on those things or have conversations, and how those motivators being kind of flipped on their head, I feel like also have contributed to this bigger trend that we're seeing. But let's watch her video now.
This might be a hot take, but as always, it's an open conversation. So if you agree, you disagree, let me know in the comments, okay? I think I am very old-fashioned when it comes to the influencer of it all. Like, I think I'm low-key a little bit of a boomer. And before I go into my whole spiel, let me just say, if you can monetize off of making content, you absolutely should. I am excited for anybody who can figure out a way to monetize their content. However, with that being said, I do think I live in this era, you know, when I started, I just loved creating content. I did it for the love of the game. I loved seeing, like, the high that I got from engagement, from people loving my content was enough for me. Even like to the point where I had 500,000 followers, I really wasn't monetizing my content. Like I got a $200 Squatty Potty deal and was like, this is fucking sick. I'm getting paid to post. But like, I was just like sunshine, butterflies, and rainbows when I first started, because I was like, I never expected to get paid from social media. Now we live in this era of, I think people look at influencing as like more so of a job, which is amazing. But I think people come to the internet now being like, I'm posting content to make this a job and make this my full-time thing. And it's just like a completely different mindset than where I came from, I guess. And I struggle with that because I'll see videos sometimes, I feel like, of creators that are usually more on the micro side, and you know, they're like, well, free things don't pay my bills at the end of the day. Free things, a free meal isn't gonna pay my bills. Like a free whatever isn't gonna pay my bills. PR isn't gonna pay my bills. And I hear you, I get it. But I also think that's the type of stuff where I'm like, we kind of lost the plot and what makes creating fun.
That is such a good point, and why we're almost seeing this bratty behavior, especially like in the food influencer, like a lot of things that we've talked about on this channel, this entitled behavior from influencers that we're seeing because they know, or the goal is to make it their full-time job. And again, I'll say it once, I'll say it again, don't say it, don't take a shot every time I say it. It's not inherently a bad thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that because you want to be an influencer, because you want to make food content, travel content, like, no. Of course, you can see why people would want to make that their job and why they would want to pursue that and why people would enjoy that. But the motivators now is that people know I can get so much from this if I have a platform and if I make this content, as opposed to this is something I'm passionate about. This is what I want to build an audience on. This is what I want to connect with people. I love this thing. I love making content. I love being creative. Everybody's so creative. The motivators feel so flipped. And I think that is at least a contributing factor as to why we're seeing this behavior and this entitlement, which I think also is definitely related and intertwined with the out of touchness of it all. But let's continue.
I think if you are coming onto something expecting something, at the end of the day, being an influencer and getting all this stuff and making money from your content, like, it's a privilege. Like, it's a weird job where it's not like you're just getting hired and doing salary and like, you're hired, congrats, you're getting paid. You have to really work for it, and you have to do a lot of brand building. And I think that's something that's kind of, we've lost the plot in all of that, where a lot of micro creators are like, no, just pay me. And it's like, I feel like back in the day when I started, it's like, no, you accept the free PR, you create content off that free PR because you're so excited about it. It's amazing. You're realizing like this is a privilege at the end of the day. Nobody is owed getting paid for my content when I'm willingly posting on the internet. Like,
when you take a step back and you just like have a little bit of a Lady Gaga, Little Monsters pause about it, you're like, it's actually so, no, at the end of the day, it's not funny, it's serious, that people have turned getting a free meal, PR, a product, and they've like turned it into like, that's actually awful. How dare you? How dare you? Like, yes, it's a completely different conversation when brands try and take advantage of an influencer that brings monetary value and more than the product, but it really does just feel like there is also a huge sense of entitlement to this huge sense of compensation, because people are so aware now. People are very aware that influencers make huge amounts of money and provide a lot for brands if they are a successful influencer, if their audience does, you know, engage with their content and does bring the revenue to the brand, that, you know, the money doth flow. But it feels like people are almost saying they have chickens when they have eggs. You know, they're getting ahead of themselves and they're so motivated by those external factors that it just feels like we're all out of whack. And it does often feel like it's harder to find creators that are posting because they enjoy it. But let's continue with her video.
and I just think that that's an art form that we kind of have lost, is like brand building. And a lot of people just like want to skip to the good part and be like, pay me, I want my money. And like, I don't know, like I feel like whenever I even had 500,000 followers, like if someone would have been like, hey, do you want to come to this restaurant for a free meal? I would have been like, yes, like yes. I would have been so flabbergasted. And I just think that, I mean, maybe the times are changing and I am an old fucking boomer and I need to get with the times, but I do feel like that's something that I struggle to understand as a creator, if that makes sense.
And you do almost wonder if in part there's like an overcorrection from when brands were taking advantage of big influencers and being like, hey bestie, here's a free meal and just post me on your platform, and they were making, you know, huge amounts of money from that influencer posting. Like, I do wonder if there's an overcorrection to the situation, but I think in general, just so much has changed about creating content and content creators and like why people do it. And a lot of people are finding now the influencers that they resonate with a lot. And like one of the top comments literally says their favorite influencer is ones that have a 9 to 5. And I think the bigger picture on that is just that influences that resonate the most and that people still enjoy are ones where their life solely doesn't revolve around them making content about themselves. And I think you can do that in so many other ways. You can do it through charity, through giving back, through working with other brands, through having another job. Like, I don't think that you shouldn't be allowed to only be an influencer or only be a content creator, but I do just think that what a lot of people are finding as time has gone on is that a lot of people's favorite, comfort creating influencers have along the way forgotten how to relate to their audience because they've become so removed from their everyday lives and struggles. We're now, sorry, my dog is snoring really loudly. Sorry, not sorry. Demi Lovato. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Well, she's sorry, not sorry. What was I saying? Crap. What was I saying? Guys, what was I saying? Oh, yes. I think especially with TikTok or like short form, fast paced content, the motivator of this engagement bait and this rage bait and the fact that people don't even have to enjoy your content for you to make money off of it, for you to go viral, is also like another big player and factor in this out of touchness and in this like lack of enjoyment in influencer content, because it doesn't even particularly feel like influencers are necessarily motivated to build those relationships, to make content that people enjoy. Because oftentimes, like I said with Michaela Nogueira and many other influencers that we're yapping about on my channel, they've found that they can go more viral by being disliked or at least being controversial and talking about things that they know will spark this reaction, that they know will upset people and rub people up the wrong way. And because that type of content is getting so heavily rewarded to the big influencer players, I think that's also why people get really upset when they see like a Catherine or people like that post a video that is out of touch and that feels like they've kind of, clocked out of reality. They've clocked out of the 9-to-5s and they've clocked out of reality at this point. People just like get so upset and have such a reaction to that content because they know where it's going. And it ain't going nowhere good. But I feel like I have really blah so much. So I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you haven't already, let me know. So please let me know in the comments down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. I have made a new Instagram, which is @BriaChats. Don't worry, I'm not an influencer. I'm a very boring everyday person. If I'm sick or things like that, where like I wanted a place where I can give you guys updates, keep you up with the 411 on like when videos are coming, where I'm at in the editing process, when I think I'll post a new video, when I post new videos, if I'm sick so I can't post a video. Like I feel like I just was missing a place to do that, and I feel like I've tried to use the YouTube post and like 10 people see it, so I'm like, that clearly doesn't work. So yeah, if you care about that stuff, that's where I'll be posting that stuff. But obviously, like, there's no pressure. There's obviously no pressure to follow me on Instagram. If you like Instagram and you want kind of little updates behind the scenes, blah blahs, silly things, that's basically what I post. It's what I'll be up to over there. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. If you stay till the end, you are a real one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to keep up with me between my uploads, I'm on TikTok and Instagram, and I'll link my vlog channel down below. And YouTube should be recommending another one of my videos on the screen right now. But don't you worry, guys, because I'm not funny there either. Bye.